Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I thank the Chairman and the Ranking Member for calling this hearing. Director Archuleta, I know there have been much bigger data breaches than this one, but I am concerned, and I share the sentiments of Mr. Connolly from Virginia. This is extremely troubling. And we're talking about 4 million plus federal workers, people who dedicate their entire careers, indeed their entire lives, to our country, and now their personal information has been compromised through absolutely no fault of their own. If I understand your testimony, the personal information of about 4 million current and former employees was potentially compromised. And I want to ask you, as your investigation continues, do you believe that that number is going to be bigger than 4 million?
Thank you for your question. In my opening statement, I described two incidences. The first incident—
no, it's a yes or no question, or I don't know.
Yeah, no, because of the two incidents, the first incident is 4.2 million, and an ongoing investigation led us to understand that the Federal investigative
you know what I mean when I say it's a yes or no question, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you think it could be more than 4.2 million?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Ms. Seymour, let me turn to you for some more detailed responses. Your IT professionals discovered the breach in April, and as Mr. Connolly mentioned, they believe the hack may have begun back in December. Am I correct in that?
Yes, sir. It began in 2014.
And now something else happened in December of 2014. OPM's contractor, Keypoint, revealed that it was targeted in an earlier cyber attack. And now this is the contractor that does the majority of your agency's background check investigations. Am I correct in that?
They do a number of our background investigations, sir. I'm not sure of the numbers.
And in that case, the attack against Keypoint was successful. Personal information was, in fact, compromised, correct?
Yes, sir.
On Friday, ABC News issued a report entitled, quote, "Fed's Eye Link to Private Contractor in Massive Government Hack." This article says this: the hackers who recently launched a massive cyber attack on the U.S. government, exposing sensitive information of millions of federal workers and millions of others, may have used information stolen from a private government contractor to break into federal systems. The article goes on. The hackers entered the U.S. Office of Personnel Management, OPM's computer systems after first gaining access last year to the systems of Keypoint Government Solutions. It continues. Authorities, meanwhile, believe hackers were able to extract electronic credentials or other information from within Keypoint systems and somehow use them to help unlock OPM systems, according to sources. The hackers then rummaged through separate segments of OPM systems, potentially compromising personal information of not only the 4 million current and former federal employees. Ms. Seymour, I know we're having our classified briefing later, and I thank you for coming to that, but can you comment on these reports? Did these hackers actually get what they wanted in the previous attack against OPM's contractor, Keypoint, so they could then go after OPM itself?
I believe that's a discussion that we should have in a classified setting, sir.
Fair enough. Now, we know that OPM's other contractor, USIS, was also breached last year, and that its information was also compromised. Can you tell us if those hackers got information in the USIS breach that they were then able to use in the attack against OPM?
Again, that's a discussion we should have later, sir.
I understand. I certainly don't want you to disclose classified information here. But let me close by asking a final question to the whole panel, and I'll let each of you answer. Federal agencies and private companies are only as strong as their weakest link. Last year we saw breaches of two contractors, Keypoint and USIS. Now we have reports that these hackers are getting into OPM information because of what they learned in those hacks. Agencies have leverage over their contractors using the provisions in their contracts and the billions of taxpayer dollars that they pay out to the company. So I want to ask each of you, how can agencies use that leverage to improve cybersecurity practices of contractors so that they do a better job of safeguarding the information that they're entrusted with? Go ahead, right on down the line. Starting with you, Ms. Archuleta.
What we can do with the contractors that we engage is to make sure that they have the security systems that match the Federal government's and that they're using the same types of systems. In addition, with I want to be sure that I understand your question. The contractors that we employ as individuals or as companies?
The contractors as companies.
That in our contracts with with the companies, we are now working to make sure that they are adhering to the same standards that we have in Federal government as outlined in our rules.
Dr. Osment.
Representative, DHS, for its own contract, as one example, it has been working to build in additional cybersecurity requirements. I would also point you to the FedRAMP effort, a government-wide effort to establish a baseline of cybersecurity requirements for cloud contractors to the government.
Mr. Scott?
Yes, I think as my colleague and Ann Rung and I testified last week, we also are strengthening the Federal contract procurement language and creating contract language that any agency can use as a part of their standard contracts.
Thank you. Ms. Burns?
I think it is about beefing up the security clauses in all contracts so that they cover the full extent of what we need, and then doing the monitoring and follow-up that you need to do to ensure that the contractors are adhering to those clauses of the contract.
Right. Ms. Seymour?
I agree with everything that my colleagues have put forth, but I will add that site inspections are also important, and those are some of the things that we do at OPM with our contractors, as well as continuous monitoring. Looking at a system every third year is not ample. That is not a best practice, and we need to move more towards looking at different security controls at different intervals of time. The other option that we do use is our IG also does inspections of our contractor companies.
Mr. Esser?
I agree with what the other witnesses stated, and like Ms. Seymour just said, we as the IG go out and we do audits of contractors, health insurance companies, the background investigation companies as well. So, we can be used and see ourselves in that role.